I'm suggesting that if God can die, or let's say God sleep, what are we really trying to say in so many ways? I mean, can God die? Can he really go to sleep? You know, if God would die, you can think about it carefully. If not alone the engine of the world, going blank shut like that. What we know of your religion or what has been told by you, we are going straight forward. His analysis was more of an assumption than what the Bible or the Quran will present. The Quran tells you that a man's wrongdoing or enviness or character, certain wrong characters, is the reason and the result of death. So in that sense, death is not qualified in any way in the sight of God. Somehow God is not put in the category of death, because it is God who sort of cursed sex or cursed death or unto us, or somehow pronounced death unto us, or maybe reveal death unto us, that this is what will happen if we do that. So somehow death has no place in the sight of God. God will not, die. If God dies, that means God did something wrong. God sinned or God did something wrong. That's why he died. So I want to be a bit simplified in the approach. I want it to be straightforward, so it won't get you confused. My assumptions are very much controlled and limited. I have my own assumptions, that options that are logic that you can think about also as well. But if you go according to what you believe, especially the Bible, it tells you that the wages of sin is death, and sin is qualified with men or the creation. So we die, so God can die. So if God came, and there's a prophecy which tells you that God came and Jesus came and he died, in some ways he's not telling you that Jesus is God. You have to think it through. Even if the word has been translated that he is God, you think it through and say, but why would they say he died again? That means the words has been used wrongly, and that has caused you for the thinking that he died. But he cannot really die. God cannot die. God should not die. Even for a second, God should not die for any reason. If God is a righteous and holy God, he doesn't need to die. So if you actually pronounce God, Jesus Christ, to be God, then that makes it even worse. For you to pronounce him being God, then you are also saying that he died. You are, it's really lunatics. It's a really mental to think in that way. It doesn't make the whole storyline very, very solid. You can come up with all the reasons which he needs. It's necessary for him to die. That is using the sacrifice idea, that he sacrificed his life for all that. But still, even if he sacrificed his life, should he sacrifice his life for anything? He created the whole universe. If whatever it is he's sacrificing for, he doesn't need to sort of correct anything for anybody. If God wants to forgive, he just forgive. If he wants to punish, he just punish. God doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. So if I do wrong right now, my Father is God. I do something wrong right now. God doesn't need a sacrifice or anything from me to prove anything. He can say, okay, forget it. Just let's go ahead. Just forget it. Go ahead. There's no need to drag it or anything. He cannot. He won't. It's not very much thinkable to sort of see it as God wants you to pay for. Like it's as if he's only taking care of us under somebody, and somehow it is necessary for him to take. It's more like he's a mediator or something. He has to take something from us so that he go and plead on our behalf. It is God we are talking about. We claim he created that, he did everything in the universe. So what can we give him? We can't even give him a human being. He created human beings. We can't even give him a human being that he has to produce. Why would he want to produce a human being for us? So that he will use that as a sacrifice for us, to show us that that is what we are supposed to do And what will happen? What will be the point of that? It's unnecessary, is it? It's very unnecessary. It's very unnecessary for him to provide a goat or a human being or a goat or anything to say that, okay, I want you to do this and have that and present it to me. I want you to have this goat, present it to me, that you are sorry for what you did. That is what God is saying to us. I gave you a cow. I'm giving you this cow. Take this cow, kill the cow, put fire, petrol on it or whatever, kill it, and present it to me, for what you did. I mean, it's up to you to think about these things carefully, because why would God want anything from us or anything from anybody? Wherever we are, whether we are evil or good, He created us. He formed us. Whether we were cursed or we were not cursed, He formed us. He had a very clue idea about us. He has too much idea about us that we don't even have a clue about ourselves. So He doesn't need us to sort of come and, just show some sort of ways to gain His favor or His sympathy and all that. It's all funny too. It's very funny. I'm sure God. In fact, it is written in the Bible somewhere that God sits up in heaven and He laughs. I can point it out to you. Is it Amos? In one of the is it Psalm or something? In one of the writings, it is clearly written that God sits up there and He laughs. Why is He laughing? Is it Psalm 2? I think so, Psalm 2. And it's sad. It's really sad that we read those things. Let me point it out to you. If you read Psalm 2, the book of Psalms, Psalm verse 2, Psalm chapter 2, the Psalm 2, Psalm chapter 2. If you read from the whole Psalm, is about up to 12. I could read the whole thing to you. But he was suggesting about God's laughter and what He would do and all that, like the causing confusion and all that, similar kind of approach. He says, why do the nations rage? Okay, why do the nations rage? And the people plot a vain thing. Why do they plot a vain thing? When you say vain, I'm sure you will know, something in vain, something with no substance or something like that, something in vain. Prayer in vain. If you say you pray in vain, you pray with no substance, you pray with nothing in it. You say, why do they plot in vain? They are plotting plans and all those things they are having, or they are doing it in vain. Nothing will come out of it. Okay, you see, the kings of the earth sit themselves, the kings, presidents and the parliamentarians, the tough leadership, they sit in council. It's like they sit themselves and the rulers take counsel together. They counsel, they plan together against the Lord and against His anointed, saying, against the Lord, against. In the Trinitarian side, the Lord here will be seen as Jesus or something, or let's say it be seen as the Father. They plan against God. And he says, against the Lord. And in the Muhammad sense, he'll say they plan against Allah. Against His anointed. His anointed is who? The only anointed in a Christian perspective is Jesus Christ, Yehoshua. The Jewish man we are talking about who was anointed by God. So he said, against His anointed. Or it can also be seen as all His anointed, the prophets,